Hello, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or, of course, if you are watching on our fast-growing YouTube channel, that is Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner. Joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here for another episode of our off-season UNC Football ISO series, where we kind of take a look at different individual players for the Tar Heels, look back at their career in Chapel Hill so far before looking ahead to next season. We're going to be focusing on Kamari Morales in this one. Before we do, though, guys, I want to give a quick shout out to TarHeelIllustrated.com. Come sign up. You can be a Carolina Insider 2 for $8.33 a month. Our price on that has not changed since AJ took over the site in 2014, and our boards are on fire. AJ's been all over the kind of ACC realignment expansion rumors. That thread is absolutely popping. Some really interesting tidbits and insider information, that AJ's been able to put in there. Fantastic. Also, the G.G. Jackson thread on the basketball side, David's been all over that. I know AJ's been chiming in, and that thread is going off right now. So, guys, if you want to get access to that, if you want to get access to more insider stuff and where you can be a Carolina Insider too, you have to sign up. Link is in the description below. Again, guys, it's just $8.33 a month. Click that link and go sign up and join our awesome family at TarHeelIllustrated.com. But Kamari Morales, who we're going to be focusing on in this one, junior tight end for the Tar Heels, guy that's been around the program for a while now. AJ, when you think Kamari Morales is a guy who's obviously covered his career from start to where he is right now, what do you think, and how integral do you think he can be for the Tar Heels next season?
I love him. I love him because he's sort of that guy that no one talks about. Mm-hmm. Yet I will guarantee you everybody inside the program knows how capable he is and how good he's been in stretches. And I think, here's a quick trivia question for everybody listening right now. And obviously we're not going to know what anybody says, but who at tight end played the most snaps last season? So people roll into their mind. They'll all say, well, of course, Garrett Walston did. Well, it's Kamari Morales. Played 421 snaps last year. Played the most snaps. He can run every route. Now, he's not as nimble, quick, and as athletically gifted as Bryson Nesbitt, whom we've talked about. We did a pod before. We've run a bunch of stuff on Bryson. But, Kamari has more been there, done that than him. And I actually think you're going to see a lot of both of them on the field. There aren't many teams in college football that could put two tight ends on the field. And one could line up in slot, and the other one could go right down the middle of the field and get behind defenders and catch a ball and run it into the end zone and score. Now, Kamari scored 5 touchdowns last year. He has a knack for stuff like that.
Yeah, second on the team in TDs, in receiving TDs.
Yeah, for all the talk about how thin the wide receiver room is, and it is, they had 6 scholarship guys during spring practice playing at wide receiver. They've got 8 now with Chapman and Green coming in as true freshmen. They have 13 in the room in total, so 5 are walk-ons. But they have some tight ends who are going to be a big part of the passing game. One of them being Nesbitt with all the stuff he's going to do. We've articulated that numerous times. But Kamari Morales allows them to use Nesbitt in other ways because he is really good. Yeah, he's a little undersized for tight end, but he's strong and he's quick. He's got amazing hands. Go back and look at the catch he made at Notre Dame. That is an indication of his athletic ability. We talked about how Bryson, maybe he's not quite Bryson Nesbitt. Nesbitt's sort of freakish when it comes to athletic ability. Yeah. If Nesbitt wasn't on the roster, people would be saying, man, that Morales is unbelievable. He's a great athlete. He's still a great athlete, even though Nesbitt is there, right? So let's not compare him to him for a second. Let's go straight Kamari Morales. Like I said, great hands. He can run every route. He can get up in the air. He can do a lot of athletic things for you. Getting better at blocking down because the tight ends must block well, especially for a team that is a program that is trying to improve their run game in tight situations. So for all the pass game stuff that we will praise him for and talk about his high end ability there, and he can be quite prolific. I think he can be a dude that catches 45, 50 passes this year, but you got to be able to block down. You got to be able to block in the tight situations. That is the question going into fall camp, which starts here in a couple of weeks. How good is Kamari Morales at blocking down? Garrett Walston was pretty good at it, and that kept Garrett on the field a lot. But if Kamari can improve his game at blocking in the tight situations and also helping in some of the pass protection where you protect some and then release, That is the next level stuff for his game. He's got the ability to be that guy where the other stuff can match some of the the route running skills and the pass catching skills. If all that comes together, you're talking about a dude who has a chance of putting together a really good season, not just with the receiving numbers, but with all those intangibles that they grade equally in the film room.
Mm-hmm. I think that leadership's huge too. Just a guy that's been around the program for a while. I know he's just a junior, but did redshirt during his career. So this guy's been around the program for longer than just, what his, year says, for lack of a better word. So I think that combined with the high end of Nesbitt, I think a guy like Nesbitt being able to not only kind of play behind Morales at times, but learn from a guy like Morales, who's just played a ton of football in his time at Carolina, not only good for his development, but I think it's just exceptionally good for Carolina's offense in that tight end room as a whole. So before we wrap this one up, you're looking at Morales and Nesbitt as kind of the two guys that are going to be kind of switching back and forth at that tight end position. That looks pretty dang.
They're going to play three.
Yeah.
John Copenhaver's really good. Well. They started using him more late last year. Mm-hmm. They had some 3 tight end sets that they used, and he was part of that. And we talked to John Lilly a couple of weeks ago, and he said, look, Copenhaver's a guy who's really made a lot of progress here, and he's going to get on the field. So I think what this allows, again, they can get real creative. Don't be surprised to see a situation where he's got a hand on the ground, he's lined up at tight end, and Morales is a little bit split and Nesbitt's wide. I mean, I think that they're going to use these guys a lot of different ways. You got to dance with what works, right? And if you're thin at receiver, and they do have a lot of question marks at receiver after Downs, and then Antoine Green, we think one of the sophomores like J.J. Jones might step up. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Andre Green to do something. But you know what? You got 2 tight ends that can run most all those routes. One can run all of them. Morales is close to being able to run all of them. So I think you're going to see you're going to see some different sets offensively than we've seen in the past from Phil Longo. And I think he's intrigued by the idea of putting a couple tight ends out there and saying, okay, go ahead and cover us. Put a corner on Nesbitt and then slot him inside and see what happens, right? So there's a lot of things I think that they could do, and I think we're going to see some different wrinkles. And it's because, not just because of Nesbitt, Morales makes that much more of a thing because you got 2 dudes that need to be covered. And I'm intrigued by what we're going to see from the tight ends. I can't wait to be in some of the open practices to watch them, to see how they utilize them. And then, of course, when the Florida A&M game comes too, they're going to play a lot. Morales is a guy who can be very prolific this year. You mentioned about his attitude and leadership. He's tremendous attitude. I remember when we covered him in recruiting, he was one of those guys you like to talk to.
Yeah, one of those guys.
He gave you great quotes, but he wasn't full of himself. Yeah, I'm going to talk to you. Some of these kids get big heads. They don't want to talk to the media all the time. He's cool with it. He's comfortable in his own skin. He's still that way now. And the more dudes you have like that, I think the better. And man, I really like watching him. He's a guy that I think defenses sort of misjudge. Mm-hmm. They don't realize he's as quick as he is. They don't realize he can get as high as he can. They don't realize his hands are as good as they are until they see it in person. Mm-hmm. And when they see it in person, that means he's caught a ball, turned his nose upfield, because he can run after the catch.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing, A, what he can do, and B, how that group is utilized this year.
Yeah, big for the offense and big for that tight end room too, especially when you look at those young guys like Copenhaver and Nesbitt. Not a bad guy at all to learn from. So looking forward to seeing kind of the year that Morales has. And like I said, I think he'll be a pretty integral part of that offense. But I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones for another episode of our offseason UNC Football ISO series. Again, guys, head on over to TarIllustrated.com, $8.33 a month. The link is in the description below. Come be a Carolina insider too over here at TarIllustrated.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Thanks.